morning, everyone. Welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Barebones Racing Series for Rolling Thunder Gaming. This is race number 4 of season 57 here tonight under the lights at the mile-and-a-half Texas Motor Speedway. Seth Cole alongside of Jessica Shelton. Jess, we heard during the off-season for these guys, they were going to be moving over from the mod they've been using for season after season now to the new next-gen cars. We're going to get to see them here tonight at this D-shaped mile-and-a-half racetrack. And tonight, from what I'm hearing from the drivers, it's really going to be all about tire conservation.
Oh yeah, I was out there for a short time during our practice. Starts pushing up. After a little bit of a run, you gotta start backing off because those tires will start wearing. I think I ran about 10 laps and I saw that my left front and my right front was already around 90-85% and how hard you run. And you gotta realize this isn't a plate track. So position and track position is everything at this point in time. So the question is, do you want to push yourself early to get up there and use your stuff? Or if you're in the back, do you just want to settle in because we got 117 laps of this, so it's going to be a bit of a strategy race, Seth.
It is indeed, and as you said, not a plate race, but they are running the CTS physics, which means that the draft's going to come into play. Probably being in someone's draft, you're going to carry a lot more speed into the corner, going to make that, preserving that right front especially, a lot more prevalent on the long run, as we've got 26 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here tonight. Jeff Supta gets the pole position for this one, a blazing lap time of 30.469. Two-time winner on the season, Grant Wesley, will line up to his outside, completing the front row. Ron Hagelin will be positioned third alongside Josh Metallic in row 2. Jeremy Jeffries and Jeff Crivello, they're in row 3. Row 4 finds Brian Schilling and Jim Glout. Andrew Miller and John Godfrey, they're going to complete the top 10. Ronald Lucet, third in points. He's going to be lined up in 11th alongside of Rodney Sullins, Richard Martin, Greg Palmer back in row 7. Dave Melson and Dave Robbins. It's an all-Dave row 8. Then it's going to be Larry Ingram and Andre Terrace in row 9. Top 20 completed by Glenn Harris and Bobby Farrell. Chuck McClure and Robbie Nieses, they're back in row 11. Frank Brevard, Bob LaChance back in row 12. And the final row will find Cy Jones and Jovan Anderson. You said it, Jess, 117 laps tonight, going to be a long one. How aggressive these drivers going to get here, being lined up double wide on the initial start?
Well, they're going to have to mind their P's and Q's, Seth. Remember, this is realistic damage here.
Great point. These drivers going to really have to make sure that they don't get damaged in any way, shape, or form, because even the slightest amount of damage can affect you arrow-wise. As Supta and Wesley bring us down, green flag is in the air, and we're racing here tonight at Texas.
Nice start. So we're going to turn 1 here, side by side, all the way back, pretty much, Seth. It looks like they're wanting to move up a little bit higher up than what I would think at the very beginning, probably because of cold tires, because, you know, being on cold tires right off the back at an intermediate track such as this, there's a lot of wheel spin. You gotta wait for those tire temps to come up.
And of course, as well, not a half pace lap, a full pace lap, so more opportunity with that longer distance around to take the green flag for those Goodyear tires to cool, as Supta will lead the first lap of the night. Battle might be for second. Ron Hagelin had a nice run into turn 1, gets to the left rear quarter panel of Grant Wesley, and look at Josh Metallic kind of pinned that triple 1 down there, got right next to the right rear quarter panel.
And we gotta realize, though, that Ron Hagelin, he got the pole last week at Bristol, did pretty well, finished somewhat decent. I mean, there was only, unfortunately, 5 cars on the lead lap on that race, I believe, Seth, so it was a pretty struggle here. They're looking to rebound after that. And Supta, it looked like when Supta got going, he jumped out there a little bit, Seth, but Grant didn't let him get away at all, did he?
No, he did not. Wesley's actually the only driver in the field, formerly a winner this season. Won the season opener at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway, kind of a Talladega racetrack with late powder blue walls. And then, of course, last week at Bristol, the other former winner this season, 2 weeks ago at Kansas, Sean Prime, not in the field here this evening.
Jeremy just got right there on the back of Ron Hagelin, just about bumped him a little bit unevenly right there going in turn 1. Look like Jeremy was ready to get a little bit aggressive. He goes way up the track. You gotta watch out off of turn 2 and off of turn 4, because when it goes down, now you see where Jeremy's running, like right above that little gray mark, where a little bit higher up than Grant is. That push you really got to turn the wheel so you don't end up going up there into that wall, because that wall comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and if you get the wall, especially off of turn 4, there's really no telling where you might bounce into as far as what lane and what kind of traffic there's going to be with that crooked D-shaped front straightaway. As Supta not going away quietly. Wesley got around him on the top side. Metallic trying to get second, but Supta still trying to keep it pinned there, at least somewhat close to that white line. Not getting his left sides on it, because that would certainly get the car a little out of shape and send him up the racetrack. How about the 72? Jim Glaude right there. He's now moved into the 6th position, looking for 5th on Jeremy Jeffries. You just kind of get the feeling when we talk about a race where tire conservation is going to be the key factor, Jim Glaude seems to be one of those names that jump to the forefront, because we've seen how he's able to really be one of the best cars on the long run. Doesn't seem to matter what type of racetrack you're at.
No, it doesn't. I mean, how many times have we called a race together that we've seen that old Jim Glaude up there in the top 10 just riding up there? But one thing I do know about Jim is usually he's one of the first ones to pit, I believe. So we'll have to make sure oh, geez, Chuck, McClure and Dave Nelson getting kind of close back there off of turn 2. So but they settled it out, thankfully. Side by side all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, it's double wide all the way back here from 2nd place to about 20th. You see there at 38, the Fanta Chevrolet of Dave Melson. Above him, John Godfrey in the 711. Up ahead, you've got Brian Schilling in a tussle with Andrew Miller, the Powerade number 47. So all the way through this field, there is battling going on, and kind of a little bit super speedway-esque with the side-by-side several rows deep. At what point does this maybe start to spread out into little intermittent battles, or does it ever?
Well, what I'm betting is if we have green flag pit stops and we can come away cleanly on that, then we should see that, especially toward the end of this run before green flag pit stops. I believe that's when it should kind of start settling down. I'm currently wondering, because Grant was up there with Supta. Grant had the momentum on the side for a little bit, and all of a sudden he started falling back with Metallic, and now I'm wondering, did they use up their tires too early?
Yeah, they might have. You gotta wonder. They had where the left front was kind of just above that dark gray, the left front down in the dark gray, and maybe we're pushing up a little too much off the corner, losing that straightaway speed. Look at the ones up here at the front. You got 5 of them, 2 on the Supta machine, 3 on the Hagelin machine, who now is under fire from Jim Glaude in the 72. I want to touch on something that you brought up before we came on the air, the fact that the pit road speed here tonight, 55 miles per hour. In the past, it was 45 at the old Texas. I gotta wonder in the fact that, like Daytona, like Talladega, 55 mile per hour pit speed, how anxious are these drivers going to maybe attempt the hot pit here if we get into a round of green flag pit stops?
It's gonna be, well, when I did the pit stop earlier, it wasn't that bad, but I wouldn't chance it, especially right there, because look at the pit road stuff. There's no pit wall there that separates the pit lane from the infield completely. So if you make one little mistake, that grass, you're going around. There's no way you can go straight on through and say, okay, well, I can slow down just a little bit and make it. No, you hit that, you're around. If you come off pit road and someone clips you, there's hardly any room for error at this point. So I would not chance a hot pit.
Starting to see the handling going away on some of these cars. A couple laps ago off of turn 4, Jeremy Jeffries got awfully wide, almost got into that bright yellow safer barrier, as Grant Wesley showing the nose to the inside of Jim Glaude, almost got his left front into the grass there. He will get to the inside, I think, into turn 1, but Glaude was trying to pinch him down. That's a little risky, especially with the fact, as you said, one mistake could be the end of your day because of realistic damage.
It's pushing pretty good, and I've been watching Bobby Farrell back here. He was last podcast on the 25th, but he's battling now side by side with Doug Cady back here. He's hit the wall a few times, and I've seen like a little bit of a kind of like the car itself kind of like scrunch a little bit from time to time when he barely tapped the wall. He was pushing up really bad. He lost so many positions. I mean, like we said, one more mistake and you're out technically. I mean, he's got to hope something big happens to gain him back the track position that he's lost for that, and maybe get a little bit of that damage fixed, depending on how bad it is. But he's pretty much lost the draft. I don't know how significant the damage is on that 92 machine, but it's a nice little tie-dye, it looks like.
Certainly would affect him, I would assume, on the back straightaway, as battle up at the front looks like it's going to be for second. Grant Wesley now to the inside of Ron Hagelin. We were focused moments ago here on the 17 of Chuck McClure. You documented him and Dave Nelson almost making some contact, but we're used to seeing in the tally challenge, Chuck McClure started the back through the random qualifying draw and work his way to the front in just a few laps. He started this race all the way back from, I believe, the 19th position. It's only taken him 15 laps to crack the top 10 right now in P7.
Like I was saying, I'm not really surprised here, especially, you look at how these guys have pretty much kind of spread themselves back here in the, 20th on back. The oh my gosh,
Sorry,
three wide.
I thought we were going to have a record.
Whoa,
the
3
leaders.
wide. 38 of Rodney Stallings way up the track.
And we've also got Ron Hagelin in the wall off of turn 4. Okay, so 16 laps in, things apparently start to happen, I guess, with these tires.
Well, I was going to document that back in the back there, that I noticed how they were kind of starting to spread out, and up in their front, they're still side by side. And you were asking me earlier when they were going to end up, kind of settling out, and this is towards the middle of the run. I believe we can go 30, 35 laps on tank of fuel / tires, but as hard as these guys are running, like Grant from earlier, I don't know how much they've worn out their stuff. Metallic's got second now, Grant just got the lead, Duke is falling back. I don't know, Seth.
Jeff Crimello way up out of the groove there as things are really wadded up here. Oh man, Cloud going to the inside of Melson, also throwing a block on Chuck McClure. I don't know if we're looking for the first caution of the night. It might be in this vicinity. This is around 3rd back to 9th.
Oh yeah, and we got Hagelin, Andrew Miller looking to try to capitalize off of it. Schilling sitting there which line do I go? Which line do I go? Do I want to be here? Do I want to back off? You don't know what you want to do in this sort of circumstance. Because, wow, look at McClure just wiggle that car.
Yeah, that one car was all out of shape there on the inside, almost pushed up into the driver's side of Sean Godfrey. Brian Schilling running in the tire tracks of the 17. I have to wonder too Godfrey gets the wall there off of turn 4. I have to wonder too, we talk a lot about at Talladega the checkup that takes place. Would it be, do you think, a little bit more difficult to gauge a checkup at a 1.5 miles like this than it would be at a super speedway? Because there would, I think, be a slightly greater difference in speed if someone's out of the throttle going into a turn at a track like Texas than there would at a track like Talladega.
Absolutely, because at Talladega, it's everyone that would actually check up a little bit can... Whoa, Godfrey back here in 11th, Seth.
And he's going around. Oh, this is a bad spot for a wreck right in the middle of the tri-oval. Looks like Bob LaChance got into the wall up ahead there. Several others. I see Robbins, I see Palmer. Say 3rd and points was involved. Oh, and he just came up the track and got Glenn Harris, as well as the 27.
Supta will lead him back to the yellow. He will be the leader. But Seth, that was unexpected, but we knew it was going to happen with the way they were racing back there. We called it back in the top from 3rd back to 9th. That was about the 11th and 12th position, so not too far from it.
Just got the feeling that sooner or later, the way that these cars were moving around, and you could visibly see the struggle that was going on, these drivers trying to keep these cars underneath them, that somewhere along the line we were going to end up seeing contact made. They almost for a brief moment looked like, when we brought the camera back to the 7-Eleven, like they almost had it saved. I think there might have been 2 or 3 moments of contact, and that 3rd and final bit of contact was what sent the 7-Eleven around. But I'm telling you what, there's a lot of drivers that I saw in that wreck that more than likely they're just going to kind of be in ride mode for the remainder of this race, hoping that this is a race of attrition, because I saw a lot of contact, especially with the front end, for at least a half dozen drivers.
Yeah, that all started with Godfrey back here, and the amount of people that took out at that one area, I mean, that's one of the worst places you want to get turned or hit the wall, bounce off, or lose control completely, is that one area right off the floor going to the quad.
Looks like John Godfrey can't even get his car up above 40 miles per hour as he is literally limping that thing back to pit road. He's just now making his way through 3 and 4. Here's a look at what happened. Ron Hagelin going to get into the 7-Eleven of Godfrey. Nowhere for Richard Martin to go. There's LaChance in the 51. I'll tell you what, Rodney Sullins. Give that guy a big hand. That was a great job of avoiding that wreck. He even had cars sliding by him that were involved in the wreck behind him.
I want to ask you something about Godfrey, though, Seth. Do you think that's the thing that bites us half the time? Because you know we're on the straightaway where pit road is, right? It looked like to me Godfrey is running right behind McClure in line, focused on McClure's line, and Hagelin is just trying to stay on track. And he goes low, but not off the course. It just looks like it might have been either Godfrey focusing on following McClure, or maybe some of that quote-unquote pit road pull that we experience every once in a while because of how close it is to pit road. What do you think?
Could have also been kind of your typical mile and a half where two drivers have different agendas coming off the corner. We know that a lot of drivers were pushing tight off of turn 4. So in the case of Godfrey, he might have been having the wheel cranked hard left to make sure he didn't hit the wall, came down into the path of Hagelin, who was pushing up on that inside line, just kind of that gray area that we see so often off of the turns at mile and a halves.
Looking at Luzier was going on the outside of the 43, and he just got completely turned around, and then there was a lot of banging and booming after that, a little bit of a checkup, not realizing, I guess, how soon the wreck was going to be there or whatever. And then when Luzier came up, I'm guessing it might be hard for someone to get going. I really don't know, based on how the setup is, and you know, after you get wrecked, I'm not sure how the tires would handle. But it looked like you said earlier, he just went right up and just got the edge of Glenn Harris.
Almost looks like when he went to shift from first to second, might have had some wheel spin there that sent him up the track when he entered into turn 1. But that's a big hit for Ronald Lucet in more than one way, because Lucet, as mentioned, came third in the point standings. He was 40 points out of the points lead coming into tonight. And looks like he's going to be able to continue, but just how up to speed is that 62 going to be is going to be the big question.
I do want to point out that Godfrey is currently 1 lap down. Now he's 2 laps down. I'm guessing he's still out there on pit road or something, I'm not sure.
But still running.
But Crivello is currently out of the race.
Crivello get involved as I believe he got into the back of Dave Robbins during that whole fiasco on the front straightaway. Lights out atop the pace car. Jeff Supta won the battle off of pit road after coming in the leader. He'll have Wesley, Metallic, Melson, and McClure, the top 5 behind him.
Now, like we were talking about earlier, you were asking about braking, right? But like I was saying, plate tracks, we can gauge an idea because it's always a constant. But you know, we're going there every single time. We run around so many times, we have an idea. You put us in like Texas, then following Atlanta, then following Martinsville. Yeah, it's going to screw up our ideas of when to brake. So yeah, the checkup can be really highly unexpected at certain points in time. So going back to your comment earlier.
Yeah, you got that muscle memory at Talladega running that track every single week. But you have to get used to what these cars are able to do here at a track like Texas.
And look at what happened. Bobby Farrell, a few of these guys who were kind of straggling back there, struggling to keep up, you know, they're back in the mix now, Seth.
They are indeed. I've also noticed Jovan Anderson's now up inside the top 10 here for this restart. Even a couple of drivers that were involved in that wreck. I saw Bob LaChance and Andre Monchon. They were back in row 6 for this restart, so it must not have been affected too badly.
We're about to find out how bad the damage is. There's Miller's up to speed, it looks like. Yeah, he came back in, I think, to top off at that last pit stop. But he's way back here now, so he's got a lot of...
Chuck McClure got himself on the apron there through 3 and 4. Able to hang on to it, but that was a bit of a scary moment in front of Jim Glaude's 72.
Saying, Andrew Miller back here in the 47, he's got a little bit of work to do to get back up to the top 10 where he was. Metallic, though, I just saw Metallic get a huge run on Super going in 1 and 2. I mean, I don't know, Metallic, it looks like right now it's basically Super, Metallic, and Wesley at this point. It sounds like they really want it. And I think that if, we always see Super kind of like pull out and just go, like he's like going really hard every single lap. So I don't know if Josh is sitting there trying to push him to go a little bit harder, so he'll use up his stuff and just kind of psych Supta out, or if Supta and Josh are actually not really using all their, tire right now. I really wouldn't know how they would strategize that at the very beginning of a restart, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up talking last week when we ended up broadcasting the Aero 88 race for RTG, and Supta told us post-race that he really wasn't pushing the race car all that much. He was only going about 85, maybe 90% in pushing the race cars. So yeah, a little hard to gauge if these drivers are asking everything of their race car right now, or maybe trying to hold a little bit back. We saw the 4th place exchange there. Actually, 4th and 5th, as Dave Melson lost positions to both Chuck McClure and Jim Gloud. Little housekeeping here as well. I ended up mentioning that Ron Luce was 40 points back. That's incorrect. He's actually only 20 points back coming into this race. The guy behind him, 23 points back, Jeff Supta in that 11, looking for his first win and trying to get into the points battle here tonight as well.
Josh ain't going to let him go there anywhere to get anywhere for points. Well, Josh wants points for himself because he's going for the lead right now.
Josh Metallic comes into this race 11th in the point standings, gained a spot after Bristol last week, so trying to break into the top 10, and he will get his first lap led of the night. So far, 22 laps led for Supta, 6 for Grant Wesley, and then Andrew Miller has led 1 lap. I believe that was him staying out an extra lap there under that caution period.
Richard Martin has just retired. I just saw him come on early retired. So.
And also John Godfrey, we saw him trying to continue on there just when we went back green, but looks like he's also taken his machine back to the garage.
You know what I'm noticing here? Oh, there is actually a battle here. Katie and Bob LeChance here swapping spots here, but it seems like after that first wreck, they seem to kind of calm down now.
Yeah, I mean, what happened to the double file several rows deep? Now we've got maybe 2 or 3 side-by-side battles going on here inside of the top 15, but not nearly as many as we had at the beginning. And, it just kind of seems to be typical racer mentality, right? You're lined up double wide for initial start of the race. The adrenaline's at an all-time high. You want to see what your car's capable of doing. Then the caution comes out, and it's like someone snaps their fingers and everyone's back to their senses of, oh yeah, we still got a long way still to go here. I want to make sure that I at least make it to the end. Let's settle in a little bit.
I'm just going through the field here, looking at who's in 13th position right now. Seth having a decent run, nice and quiet, not really, having any issues right now. Is that 54 Navy Toyota of Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie Nisus right now in the top 15. Another driver that's right around him as well that we haven't highlighted yet, the 22 of Greg Palmer.
In that first incident, remember? He was actually in the first incident.
Oh, that's right, he was. Yeah, got a little bit piece of the incident, did he? But I haven't seen any visible damage. I mean, I'm seeing right now, at least some of these guys that we know were involved in the wreck, even Hagel in there, who the wreck started with, looks like these guys are still up to speed, so must not have gotten that much contact in the wreck.
The other driver we haven't really talked about is Andre Terrace, which is in the 75, right in front of Robbie, and right in front of Andre is actually Doug Cady. I mean, these guys, if you remember, I believe it was Doug Cady and Glenn Harris a couple of seasons ago were battling for that, what was it, the Charger or the Challenger Series?
Yeah, the Challenger Series. Yep, that's true. That's a good call.
So,
there.
I mean, seeing them having a decent run today, I mean, this is Texas, this isn't the plate tracks or anything, so you can gauge a lot off of a driver based on their intermediate and their short track game, let alone just the road course. I mean, plate tracks, yes, I mean, but you come here to an intermediate Seth, it's always a different game changer. Jim Gloud, way up on the high side, he's going to lose a spot to, I'm not sure if he lost a spot to Chuck, or whether he just got pushed up and he's falling back and pushes to Dave Melton now.
Yeah, I believe McClure has been ahead of the 72, so this would be Dave Melson just running Jim Glaude back down to try and break back into the top 5. He'll clear him off of turn 2. You saw that generic gray car there, right now scored in P8. That's Jovan Anderson making his first start of the season here for the Barebones Racing Series. The reason he is a generic, just to explain, is that the car was uploaded to the pack after qualifying. In order to go back and get the car, it would have possibly affected our ticker not scoring correctly here tonight. So unfortunately, we don't have his Amoco Toyota Camry able to be shown on your screens, but if he ends up making a start later on here this season in our future broadcast for this series, then we'll probably be able to see him.
Also, just an update here, I believe it's the 96 day, Robbins retired. I saw him on pit road and just disappear, so I'm guessing he retired from the race, huh?
And Dave Robbins, we saw, was also involved in that big wreck there on the front straightaway, and indeed you are right, he has gone to the garage area, so he'll join Richard Martin, John Godfrey, and Jeff Probello back behind the wall. 24 drivers still running, all 24 at this point in time on the lead lap.
Lap 40 coming across the board right now as Metallic hits the line. Start lap 40 here, Seth. So, if you're Josh, are you focused more on just running your race and just getting there, or are you trying to keep Grant behind you no matter what? Like, are you playing defense or just riding and enjoying the view from up front at the moment, knowing that, hey, if you get to run, just let him go, let him use the stop?
With what we know about the tire wear for these drivers, I think you have to run your own race. If Wesley catches you, if he's faster, then, just let him go. At this point in time, I think it's more, at least for the top 3 or 4, it's driver versus racetrack rather than driver versus driver. You start trying to battle with somebody, you might put yourself in a predicament you don't want to be in, and you're certainly going to use up a lot more tire than you were planning.
Oh, I mean, we're right here on the edge of a second pit stop, because remember, we pit around lap 23, 24, remember? So they've got about 20 laps on their tires. That's a little bit further than what they want, because I believe that first caution came out on lap 17 or 18 or something like that, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, and that's what we started to see as well. A lot of drivers kind of battling with their race cars. I'm starting to see that a little bit again here, so.
I'm seeing Jim Glaude on the very bottom a moment off of turn 2. He was really wiggly. So, I mean, if that's the case, they're all single file, so if someone pushes up, they're going to try, I'm sure, to grab positions. Now we see double file races up here in the quad again.
Yep, Jovan Anderson gets to the inside of Jim Glaude. Further back there is Frank Rivard in the 35 to the inside of Dave Melson. That would be, I believe, for the 8th position. Jeremy Jeffries right there as well in the Valvoline Chevrolet. So starting to see that kind of wadded up group again around the latter half of the top 10, and that's where we ended up seeing the first caution of the night take place.
The only problem is, it's like, you've been out there running with everyone else evenly for the past several laps, right? Oh, a lot of blocking going on between Glaude and Rivard.
Blocked him right to the grass, did the 72.
But what I was going to mention was, like, with everyone starting to have all that wear on their tires, you push up, there's an opening, you create an opening. It's like, do you want to go for it and actually try to gain that position? Because now you have an opportunity. But at the same time, do you want to push it to go down there and actually make that move, knowing that you would just use your tires up and you might push up and cause a wreck?
Yeah, what kind of confidence do you have in the race car and the tires to be able to make that move as well? Because, this mod is new. It was released this year. There's still a lot of different fundamentals of it that drivers have to get used to, one of which would be the hitbox. Slightly different from other mods, obviously. I've seen a couple of moves here tonight where a driver is kind of combo making a move on the driver in front of them and blocking the car behind them, and I've almost wondered how close that really is. If bumper grab could come into play, who knows?
Have you noticed that Chuck McClure has lost several positions all the way back behind Jeremy Jeffries now? pretty
I've
much
noticed a lot
outside
of
of the senior
drivers
group.
have lost positions.
And
McClure,
look,
Cloud, Nelson, those three especially.
if you look where Supta is right now and look in the front view where Supta is, okay, Schilling, Anderson. Then there's a big gap all the way up to where Wesley and Metallica are running.
1.2 seconds between second and third last time by. So yeah, it's huge gap. You know, the 93 there in third, the 4 in fourth place, those are drivers that have apparently been able to preserve the tires for the long run. They're moving forward. As mentioned, the 17, the 038, the 72, they're falling back. So that says to me, once we end up having these green flag pit stops begin, those drivers falling back, they're probably going to be the first ones on pit lane.
I wouldn't doubt that one bit, but here's another catcher. Getting on the brake to slow down to come to pit road. How much tire are you going to use out of that? And along with turning a little bit to get on pit road, or are you going to spin out?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question of just what the difficulty level is going to be for these drivers getting onto pit lane. And I feel that we're going to be answering that question at least within the next 10 laps, maybe as soon as the next 5 laps.
I'm getting nervous.
Yeah.
Back here with Hagelin right now and Katie, they're kind of like slowing down and checking out while they're passing each other back and forth. They're trying to get in position. It's like, this is where the a little bit of a hornet, I guess you could say a little bit of a hornet's nest is right now, I guess, because it seems like everyone else is kind of, whoa, Katie almost got with Andre right there, but it's like, this is where everything's at, and look at Katie drive all the way up near the top gray area where there's nothing up there.
And there's stuff happening just ahead of them too. Katie, Terrace at the tail end of this group. At the head of it, you had Jim Glaude, Chuck McClure, Andrew Miller, and they were pretty close quarter racing as well.
Waiting for people to start pitting, so I don't see anyone signaling yet. Andre Marjon down Bobble Chance.
McClure just tucked down in front of Dave Melson, so I almost wonder if he's positioning himself towards that inside line to eventually hit pit road.
Well, McClure's been stuck up there on the high side. I'm glad he came back down. He realized he wasn't going nowhere. So.
Katie's stuck on that outside line there now. Denver Broncos Chevrolet obviously got to be pretty thrilled with the fact his Broncos picked up a victory here this past Sunday. Ron Hagelin to his inside in that 111. Andrew Miller's on the move in that 47. Now, granted, he came down pit road.
Whoa, Hagelin.
Oh, caution's going to come out.
Katie barely bumped Hagelin right there in the corner. You were talking about letting off and checking up a little bit in the corners, and that's what happened. Katie barely just bumped that Coca-Cola Camaro.
7 of Katie. He was slow, but he never spun. Hagelin was the only one who did. Boy, a tough night for the Coca-Cola Chevrolet. 2 for 2 in being the first car to spin in back-to-back cautions.
I know. I mean, he started pretty decent. He started third, Seth. I mean, he looked like he was having a decent run, and then all heck broke loose on that 111. I guess he's got a little bit of a... Mate, you think he's got a little bit of a jack in that Coca-Cola there?
I don't know. Gonna look at it again.
I think it was just like a letting off point, just a little bit too much, and boom. Not sure when you're going to let off.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. He let off a little bit there in the center of the corner. I think Doug Katie thought he was going to get back to the throttle sooner than he did, and just was all over his back bumper. Got very lucky there that more drivers didn't get involved, not only drivers in the vicinity, but also oncoming traffic, as the 111 was in the middle of the track for a good portion of time. Yeah, I think, who was it, Greg Palmer and Dave Melson might have gotten together. Somebody else was further up ahead missed their pit stall. Oh, there's even more contact coming off pit road. Wesley, Jeremy Jeffries, and Brian Schilling.
Nobody's still sitting on pit road, Seth. He's going to lose a lot of spots.
Nobody spun with that contact for what I think it was third place between the 488 and 8. But there was definitely contact made between those three drivers.
The only problem now is with realistic damage, is that actually going to affect anything? I mean, you and I have both ran realistic damage races where we could just hit the wall kind of hard and not get any damage, but we can also hit the wall very lightly and get damage. So, I mean, you just never know how much damage you actually get on pit road.
Exactly. Doug Katie stays out the extra lap,
Jeremy's
since more
coming
than
back in.
likely he was the cause of the caution, claiming that. So drivers that claim the wrecks, they come in the second lap. Robbie Nice has also stayed out an extra lap, along with
Nelson coming in.
Larry Ingram and Cy Jones.
Jeremy Jeffries is coming in, Cy Jones is in, Robbie's in, and Larry Ingram. Like you
I'm
said.
wondering if the 8 might be coming down pit road to see if there was any damage sustained when he got into the driver's side door of Wesley.
Well, better fix it now while you're under caution rather than having a little bit of a long run going on and having to pit under green, don't you think?
Yep, left side tires going on for the 38, so I believe that when Palmer and Melson might have gotten together, more than likely the 38 was pulled up too close to the pit wall, so they couldn't change the left side tires. That's probably why he had to come down the second time.
So, Seth, 2 cautions. We've got 54 laps on the board, about to hit the start of 55. Caution light is still on. I mean, honestly, how do you feel about this race going on? I mean, we're already halfway, just about halfway or so. I mean, a little bit, right there at halfway. I guess it's just like a few laps away. But I mean, with the thing, we've had 2 cautions. We've seen a lot of handling issues with tire wear. I mean, do you really expect that they're going to settle down, or do you expect another couple of cautions as, this starts winding down?
I'll tell you, I'm really going to be interested to see about this third run, because I feel like the first 2 runs, it was a go-to-school period for these drivers. The first run, it was try and see what your car was able to do in traffic. Everybody was wadded up, double file for the initial start of the race. Second run, things got spread out, and we started to see the comers and goers of who was able to save their tires for the long run. And we got right on the eve of when these drivers were going to have to start thinking about making green flag pit stops. Now I think this third run, you got to take everything you learned from both the first 2 runs and put it all together now, because this, I think now we're entering into the vicinity of the race where the moves you make at this point in time could affect whether you're going to be in the conversation for the win later on.
So you think right now would be the moves that set you up this early on for the end of this race?
I think so. I honestly think that we may end up seeing these drivers actually make it to that round of green flag pit stops this time, just in the fact that they've kind of been able to figure out now, just car and tire wise, what they're able to bring to the table.
I do want to point out something, Seth, okay? I mean, I might be jumping the gun, probably am, but we got lap 5.1, lap 6, we're about to go green, okay? I'll finish my thought in a moment after we head back, okay?
Okay, so Metallic's going to be leading us back to green. Jovan Anderson now in second, highest he's
Supta's
run all
back
night.
here, what the heck?
Ryan Schilling, Grant Wesley, Andrew Miller, that's the top 5 as green flag is set to come out here. Completion of lap 55 onto 56.
Supta started way back here, so he pulled over right there at the very bottom of the track at 3 and 4 and let everyone go. And all of a sudden now he's getting back on track. I don't know what that was about.
Maybe a hardware issue going on there or something, just trying to get out of harm's way. Restarted back in the, I believe, 11th position. Oh, Chuck McClure! Big hit into the outside wall, and several more collected again. Harris, Lucey, Terrace, Robbie, Nisus, hard into Harris. And they're still wrecking on the front straightaway. Rodney Sullins in the 38 was collected.
Was Jeremy collecting that?
Not certain. He was way at the back there after having that second trip to pit road. Metallic picks up the pace car on the back straightaway. Well, there were some hard shots there. Started with the 17 of McClure, I believe, and I think there was contact, but there were several others that piled in.
Oh my, Seth, I don't know what in the world. Do you think that was just a little bit of ANC trying to get position real quick, you think, or what?
Could have been. We'll see. Let's see who the initial
I can tell you this, the one person
with.
happy about that would be Supta.
Oh, yeah. Was it Lucey? Was it Cloud? Was it Terrace? Oh, wow.
We know what the first
came
car we
down
saw
from the
was
top
Chuck
to
at
the
first.
bottom and chopped the nose off the 75. I'm wondering, cold tires? Maybe got loose in the center of the corner there through 3 and 4?
Wait, you said it was Andre?
Yeah, 17 of McClure down into Andre in the 75. Take another look here. Let's take another angle. I didn't see the 75 slide up the racetrack at all. It looked like it was the 17 coming down. Oh, yeah, he got loose. You could see the back end of that Jack Daniels Chevrolet was all sorts of sideways. He was in gather up mode at that point in time.
I remember we saw one small error. Just one little error trying to catch, and that's what happens.
Oh, gosh, that shot right there, Robbie Nisus into the Krispy Kreme Chevrolet of Glenn Harris. And you see further up there, the 38 of Rodney Sullins. We saw him at the very tail end of that wreck. Initially, looked like he got on the brakes and was going to get through. Let's see how he was involved. He must have gotten clipped by somebody, maybe got bumped from behind.
Hey, so I have a question for you real quick.
Okay, oh, yeah, oh, Doug Cady got him.
Was there a point a moment ago, right when the wreck happened, everyone started to get going again? Like, did everyone like blink out? Because on my end, it looked like everyone blinked out for like a half second.
I believe that might have been on your end. Didn't see anything on this
Okay,
side.
I just didn't know it was a server issue.
But
I was gonna say, if it was a server issue, that could have been one of the causes.
Yeah, quite possibly, but no, I didn't see anything happening on my end. Let's take an onboard with Dave Melson's 038 and how he was able to get through this wreck.
That's cool.
Is it real life or is it just fantasy?
We'll find out what Dave Melson
The cars just migrate up the track. Plenty of open space on the inside to get through. Dave Melson, just like that, went from 18th position up to 10th, taking that caution flag.
I do want to point out, so far, no one else has retired off the grid. We still got Crivello, Godfrey, Richard Martin on his DMAR, and Dave Robbins is the only retirees currently still.
Have to think with some of the shots we saw taken in that wreck, though, we're going to maybe more than likely have some off-the-pace race cars, most notably the 08 of Glenn Harris and the 54 of Robbie Nisus. We'll see just how many laps it would take for them to get reeled in by the drivers up front that are up to speed as lights are out atop the pace car.
And look who's sitting there nice.
Look
who's sitting there nice in third, and look who's in fifth and sixth. And look who made it back in the top 10 back there in ninth.
Ron Hagelin there in that 111. So we're seeing that drivers, despite the fact they've been involved in wrecks here tonight, or at least been in the vicinity, or fallen back, wearing out their tires in the long run, they're still up here, still fighting, as it's an all-blue oval front row here with Metallic and Ryan Schilling going to be the ones to lead us back to green.
And Supta again is on pit road. I'm still trying to wrap my head on what's going on with Supta. I don't know, but I mean, we got Jeremy Jeffries in the back now with Supta, so that's going to be interesting to see them come back through the field. I don't think they really have any damage. I don't assume they have any. But looking right up here, stuff we got Jovan Anderson now in third, Grant Wesley's in fourth, Andrew Miller fifth, Jim Gloud 6th, Frank Rivard, Greg Palmer, Ron Hagelin, and David Nelson making up the top 10. Got a couple of new players up here in the front and in the top 10 now.
Worth noting as well, we only had about a lap and a half there before that caution came out once we got back green. Don't know how much of a difference that's going to make, but 13th on back, they came to pit road, and it is unlimited tires in this series. So if they took on Goodyears, I wonder, even 1-2 laps of difference in tire grip, well, that may be a deciding factor for some of these guys restarting outside the top 10.
No idea. So, wow, someone got the wall.
Bobby Farrell, I think. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, Bobby Farrell knocked it pretty hard there. I'm not going to be surprised if he's got a little bit of damage, and that's going to affect him a little bit here.
Definitely you can see visible damage on the right side of the tie-dye Ford Mustang as he's battling for the 16th position with Ronald Say. Frank Ricard, Dave Nelson mixing it up here for 8th, and we are double wide. 3rd place on back. Miller on the bottom, Schilling on the top.
Oh!
Loud there in the 72.
Farrell got the wall again.
Ooh,
Jeez,
and
he's
now-
just not handling really good, is he?
Now you got Dave Nelson going from top to bottom to the inside of Greg Palmer for, I think that is 7th.
Hey, so it looks like that 54 is kind of up to speed. Already passed a few cars, already close back into the back of this field. So the 54 seems like he's trying to get something going here.
Which is really impressive with the shot we saw him take, especially to the
Yeah.
front end of that car. You would think that he was more than likely going to be done as far as reaching top speed.
That's why I'm a little shocked here. And anyway, back up front, we got Wesley falling back, Schilling's falling back, Jim Glau goes up to 4th, Andrew Miller 3rd. Joe and Anderson now has his sights set on Josh Metallic, who's led a pretty decent amount now that we've had that last lead change with Supta out of the way, and you know, Grant not exactly near the side or the front of Metallic, because it seems like when you get on the outside of someone on this track set, it looks like that outside is kind of a little bit powerful coming off that corner.
Yeah, definitely good on corner exit, maybe not as strong on corner entry, and especially on the long run through the center, the ability to get back to the throttle just kind of not there, more than likely because it would take less time to get up to the outside wall from that middle line than it would the inside line.
Hadlin's going around Andre Marjan back here for 12th, and then pretty much single file. It just seems like where everyone wants to gain positions are right up here from like 4th all the way back to 8th. It just seems like that's where the activity is trying to focus itself at.
Andrew Miller in all sorts of trouble there off of turn 4. You could see he had to bail out of the throttle as he was pushing up.
Definitely.
Over to the inside of Metallic, the inverted numbers, the 93 and the 39. Jovan Anderson trying to pick up his first win on the season in his first start in the Barebones Racing Series. Metallic now going to get stuck in no man's land on that outside line. Kind of seems like here tonight, at least on the second and now this run, you get put up there, it's almost kind of like being put in the drop back lane.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to have a little bit of a good tire wear to get on that high side to actually start at least giving a challenge. I mean, like you're saying, it's going to go away after a bit, but you can challenge for a few laps and make that inside lane use up their stuff, but it's kind of pointless in my opinion unless it's worth the end of this race.
Metallic able to slot in front of Brian Schilling, so he falls back to 3rd. You mentioned about Supta being out in front early on in this race for 22 laps, 35 laps out in front there for Josh Metallic. So right now he would get the bonus point for most laps led here tonight. There is still enough time in this race for his lap led total to be broken.
Supta's back here in 20th, and I'm still trying to figure out what in the world happened to him, Todd.
Not certain. I mean, he's been made several trips to pit road under the last 2 caution periods. Doesn't seem to have the speed that he had before. I didn't see him get involved in any wreck.
Neither did I.
But you said he had that longer extended stay on pit road.
Yeah, I mean, it was at one point where he pulled down off of turn 3 and 4 when we were about to go to a restart and let everyone by him, and then we had that issue right off the start. So.
Well, he also had a very slow pit stop just prior to that restart.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
there was a wreck on pit road, remember?
Right, so I'm almost wondering if maybe the contact, if he was involved in a pit road incident, if maybe that's what's got him off the pace. Don't know.
Well, that's certainly something we need to really think about later on.
Yeah, a bit of a
this
mystery there
race
for the pole
continues.
sitter.
He might be trying to do some strategy for all we know. Maybe he knows something that we don't.
You know, it could be that as well.
Whoa, Jeremy starting way down there on Doug Katie, forcing himself to get that position. He didn't really push it too hard, but when Katie saw him go down there, he moved up.
And then 3 wide wadded up behind him there with McClure, Miller, and Katie. But yeah, just barely caught the back end there of Jeffries. He was almost on the apron there going into the corner that last time around.
He dove it down there. I mean, it looked like Katie was sitting there all this is all of a sudden going to turn 3. Here comes Jeremy right down there. It's like Katie saw him there. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you that. I'm just not even going to worry about it. I'm giving it to you.
I don't know how confident you'd be of trying to bump draft somebody down the back straightaway, but they were wadded up nose to tail. Melson, Palmer, and Anderson there, all trying to freight trade their way by Jim Cloud in the 72. Moved Melson into 3rd. Palmer up to 4th. Anderson now looking for 5th as we had the lead exchanged once again. A Metallic going back to the point, Schilling following him into 2nd, so not certain what happened right there with the 93, but he's gone from the lead now back to the 5th spot in the matter of about only 3 or 4 laps.
And I'm back here watching Supta. He's making his way around cars slowly and methodically on the high side. Now he's going to go to the bottom, I believe, to go past Chuck McClure. You remember there was one race that we called, and I can't remember what track, unfortunately. But whoa, a little bit loose there off that corner. But I remember there was a track where we saw Supta kept going to the high side, where we knew that there shouldn't be any way you could do anything up there, but Supta made it work that night.
I remember, what was it, our last Wednesday night race when we broadcasted the Air 88. He was really good on the outside line on restarts.
Yeah, this one that I'm recalling is a long while back. This is when it was... Oh my, this is when we had Robert Balcom in the field too. I mean, I don't remember what track it was, but I remember Supta being on that high side making moves. I mean, if there is a lane to be found to make a move or whatever, you can guarantee that the 11 of Supta is going to find it.
And I think too, here tonight, from what I've seen, if you've got the opportunity to make the move, you've got to take it, because it certainly looks like momentum has been a key in making passes here. If you're conservative, if you're a little bit hesitant trying to make a move, then the rest of the field's going to catch you out, and you're going to lose positions as a result. So you kind of have to be daring, I think, here. If you've got the run, if you've got the momentum, whether you're confident the car's going to stick or not, you've got to make the move for the position, or else you're going to find yourself going back towards the rear of the field.
We are now at the very beginning of 76, going toward the end of 76, coming on to 77. But I do want to point out, if you think about when we went back to green, these cars, you were talking about like 30-35 laps roughly. So we're looking at anywhere between lap 90 to lap 95, roughly around that area. Now the question is, we saw us go like what, 15-17 laps for the first car. Right. Then we went about what, 20-25 laps for the second one.
Yeah, more towards 25, I would say.
Whoa! Rivard got really close to Jim Cloud. Jim Cloud pushed up. The back bumper hit the front of Rivard's car. Rivard went way up the track, just barely, almost hitting that wall. We got a lot of spots off of that one. Regarding what I was mentioning of Seth, 30. Think about how many laps from 90. Add 31 to 90. Where does that put you?
Yeah, I would say that if they make it the furthest they can here on this run, they should be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel. I would really be interested in what their tires would look like at the end of that run.
That's what I was getting at, was on this last pit stop coming up, if you can make it 30 more laps, roughly on a tank of fuel, how hard do you want to press your tires? Or do you want to try to do your best to conserve for that last bit? Do you want to use them up to try to gain a lot of track position in case that caution comes out? Or what do you do?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting question. Another thing I'm kind of wondering here as well, I think it's very unlikely, even if you're up here towards the front, that you'd be able to make a pit stop, come off, and still be on the lead lap. You're almost guaranteed going to lose a lap here under green flag conditions. But looking at the lap times right now, for most of these drivers, the lap times they're running at this point in time, as opposed to their fastest lap, about 9/10 to a full second slower. So that means you can gain up to a second of speed if you're one of the first onto pit lane with your up to speed laps. Is it worth running the risk of going a lap down if you pitch just a little bit earlier but still within the fuel window to make it the rest of the way? Possibly have this thing cycle around, pick up a couple of spots, Whereas on the flip side, if a caution comes out, you're going to have to hope that you were the first car one lap down, get the lucky dog, but you've lost a ton of positions in the end result.
Well, I just checked Doug Katie's fast lap versus his last lap. It was a 30, almost like a 30 flat to like a 31 point what he ran. Jeremy Jeffries and Supta, 30 flat to a 30.9 for each of them. I mean, you're right, it's about 0.9 to almost a full second off. I wonder how aggravating that must feel at the moment, as we see a battle for second starting to take shape here behind Metallic, Seth.
Anderson shows the nose to the inside of Brian Schilling. We saw Anderson get to the lead, fell back to 5th, now slowly, car by car, working his way back to the front, and so complete the pass off of turn 2. Grant Wesley with a big run, going to try and take advantage as well on that gear wrench Ford Mustang, not able to get there just yet. It's kind of a breakaway here for the top 5, but
Schilling
into the wall. A bit of yellow paint sported on the right side of his Mustang now, but we were talking, kind of questioning about what was going on with Jeff Supta. Whatever it is, the Gremlins have gone away. He's now up here in the 7th position, only 2 seconds off of the race leader.
Chuck McClure is having a real hard time back here. He's battling side by side with Ron Hagelin. It's like 3 wide right now, Seth, back here. Hagelin into McClure.
Contact made. Well, you can see the rear deck lid is completely gone on that 17. He ended up, when he had his wreck, he hit the outside wall with the back end. It's a small enough spoiler as it is, and it may be pushed down even more after the damage sustained.
Whoa, look at that run.
And he was wicked loose when we saw him get out of shape over there in 3 and 4. I would have to think that having practically no spoiler, that's just making that loose sensation even worse.
Did you see Hagelin hit that wall off that corner? I mean,
and he almost got McClure caught up with him.
I mean, we saw a moment ago McClure had a huge run on that inside line and he had to back off. I mean, it's hard when you got damage, but it's even harder when you actually get a run and then you realize you have to back off so you don't run the car in front of you. But at the same time, when you back off, you just, with that damage, you just lose even more than what you're wanting. It's like, it's just so disappointing how it feels.
Got 2 seconds from 1st back to 7th, but it's over 3.5 seconds from the leader back to this battle, this exchange now for the 8th position. Katie getting around Jim Glaude, Andrew Miller right there in the, I believe that is the 10th position. I get the feeling if we end up hitting those green flag pit stops, these guys right here might be some of the first ones onto pit road, because, I mean, what do they have to lose? You know, they have everything to gain of maybe being able to get up here in this lead pack, which is now led by Jovan Anderson. He just apparently a couple laps ago got back around Metallic.
He actually last lap, he was battling side by side and he finally cleared him. And now Grant Wesley is looking to take advantage over him, Josh Metallic. And look at this. Jeremy Jeffries was way back. That pit stop, he came back up a little bit higher up after the pitting, and look at where he's at. Like, we weren't even really focused on him too much, and he's all of a sudden making his name into this top 3. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe this 8's the one we gotta watch, and we gotta take her on pit road.
And that
Bobby
would
Farrell.
be, the 92 of Farrell. Brian Schilling also on pit lane just behind him. Another one on pit road.
Jeffrey's going for second. Jeremy ain't waiting.
Dave Melson there as well. Well, let's also remember that with Jeremy Jeffries, you talked about him being a little bit further back on the last restart. He was one of the drivers elected to come down pit road under that caution period, restarted in the 14th position, but had about a lap or 2 fresher tires. Is this where we're starting to see the difference of those fresher tires as opposed to the other drivers?
And more drivers seemingly are coming down pit road, Seth. And remember, I told you about lap 90-ish, right? This is 88.
Andrew Miller, Andre Mahjong hard on the brakes there. Same for Greg Palmer, Ronald Lucet, and Ron Hagelin down pit road this time. Question is, when do we see our front runners with the hands out the window and diving onto pit lane? Like Anderson, Jeffrey, stay out. Here's Wesley. Wesley's in. And Metallic.
I do want to point out, they didn't. Apparently, Joey's going to be pitting this lap coming in, Seth. But I just want to point out, Wesley didn't say he was pitting, neither did, who else was it that pit with Wesley? Metallic. It's like they didn't say a single word. They're like, I'm just going to surprise her and pit when I'm ready. And then Jobin was out there with Jeffries. And now Jobin, Jeffries, Chance, they're all pitting this lap.
Oh, look at Jeffries.
Wow.
Very aggressive on the pit road. Man, he might have gotten it woed down in time, but he made the pass for the lead there at the commitment line as McClure might have had him. Oh, McClure just spun out Katie on pit road. What was that about? Katie coming back up towards the racetrack. We're still under green. You can see the lights are out still on the pace car. I don't know what that one was all about.
I'm looking back at the replay on that. I don't really think that was intense. I think what it was is there was a car in the stall, and Katie was trying to make sure he didn't hit that car on the stall and give a little bit of room because you don't know when they're actually going to be released. And you know how Chuck went really wide coming off of his pit stall, and how he was trying to get back on the track and make sure he didn't get on the grass, and since he was on far the wide, there was just a little bit of contact at the last second. I don't think it was anyone's fault, but that's just my take on it.
Very nearly brought out the fourth caution of the evening here with that 7 traversing up towards the racing surface. As looks like Grant Wesley's going to cycle around to our race lead, I believe. Maybe, actually, no, it might actually be the 4 of Brian Schilling, who was one of the first on pit lane. We had to wait for scoring to update itself as Robbie Nietzsche, Larry Ingram, Cy Jones, still waiting for them to come to pit lane. One driver I was watching very carefully on our telemetry to see if he was going to get pegged for speeding or not was Rodney Sullins. He was really hot coming to the commitment line, but looks like he was still okay. So very fortunate there for the driver of the 38. I'm not seeing any speeding penalties handed out at this point in time, and as soon as I say that, Frank Rivard in the 35 just got posted.
And I do want to point out, remember, we were looking at Jeremy passing Jobin on the pit road, remember? Right. He's right here with Grant thinking about possibly making a move or something right here because Schilling's right in front of Grant.
You've got 5 drivers right now here in the vicinity that are trying to win this race.
They're trying to get around this driver in front of them.
Frank Rivard not going to let them by. They're going to be able to forge away to the inside of him going into turn 1, but you see him right here in your shot. Schilling, Wesley, Jeffries, Anderson, and Metallic. Barring a caution coming out and bunching everybody else back up, this is more than likely going to be the drivers that will settle it out for this checkered flag.
This has been kind of exciting, don't you agree?
This really has, and you know, you look at the possibility here that Grant Wesley came into this race the points leader. He's got a shot of going 3 for 4 here in the first 4 races of the season. It's a short season too. There's only 15 races. We're almost a third of the way through this season already. So I mean, what a statement to make if you're able to win 75% of the first 4 races.
One of the big names in the series and in the group community, Rodney Sullins, is apparently taking this car off track. I don't know what happened, but apparently he's off track now.
I didn't see him get posted, but I'm almost wondering if maybe he did receive a black flag for speeding and maybe potentially decided that if this thing went green to the end, he wasn't going to gain any more positions and may have just called it an early night. Stop right there for Rodney Sullins, going to get credited for the 24th position. Want to remind everybody here as well, covering tonight's race from Texas, these drivers next week will be heading to the Charlotte Roval, and then we'll be back here again the following Monday night, October 10th, bringing you all the action from Homestead Miami Speedway.
And I don't know, we're not going to be doing a Roval, are we?
No.
I do want to point out, if anyone wants to have any fun about the Roval, Seth Cole, your lead broadcast and commentator, will be available to be wrecked at the Roval.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, you did say earlier you wanted to race, and now you might have jinxed someone, and if you jinxed someone, well, there you go.
So what you're saying with that statement is I need to be sponsored by everybody's favorite French department store, Target.
Yes.
Okay. 20 laps to go when they hit the line that time. Yeah, let's get back on track. Jeremy Jeffries back on the attack, this time for the race lead as he drives it deep into turn 3 on Brian Schilling, maybe a driver that we haven't exactly highlighted as far as where he is in the point standings, but Jeremy Jeffries coming into tonight only 24 points back, 5th in the points overall. Had a great run last week at Bristol as well that gained him 3 spots. So this 8 car has been on the move on the track and in the standings. And Anderson has now fallen back to, or not Anderson, correction, Schilling has fallen back to the 4th position. Italic to the inside of Anderson for 2nd.
Seth?
Yes.
Look who's behind Frank Rivard, closing in very slowly.
How did he catch them?
That's what I was wondering. I'm like showing through these guys. I'm like seeing how everyone's kind of like, you know, single file and they're really spread out on this track. And I'm thinking that there's like the most people. And I'm like, who is that? Are you kidding me?
The reason I'm surprised that he caught them was after the cycle of pit stops were over and we saw these 5 bunched up, he was 2.5 seconds back. I thought there was no way that a single car was going to be able to run down a pack of 5 and then eventually 6 when they caught Frank Rivard. So I'll tell you what.
Lap traffic, bud. Lap traffic.
You might be right. You might be right. When they caught the 35, might have slowed him down enough for Supta to have a shot at this thing. Trying to go coast to coast here tonight as the pole sitter.
That's why we always hear people say, it's not over until it's over.
Absolutely true, as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if Supta is able to pull it off here tonight, he'll be the first driver this season that has gone to victory lane from the pole position.
And where is he on points?
Supta is, if I remember correctly, 4th in points. Yeah, 23 points back, 4th in the standings. We know he's going to pass. We know he's going to pass Ron Lucet. We know he's going to pass Sean Prime, who's not in the field. So he could be up as high as 2nd, depending on where Grant Wesley finishes this race.
Scrolling through some of these race drivers here and looking at any battles, I mean, they've really kind of like maintained themselves single file around here, Seth.
And I'm wondering if maybe for some of these guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th, if they might be in ride mode, not to save fuel. We know they could make it on fuel when they came to pit road, but the thing we talked about was they were going to be right near the end of a run, and so their tires were going to be at pretty much their worst. So if you save just a little bit here in the midway portion of the run, you might have a little bit more grip in the closing stages than the driver you're trying to pass.
Only question is, if you're back in 5th or 6th, I mean, do you have enough time to kind of push it to get up there and actually make the pass? Because you know they're going to be blocking, and we already seen how, you know, much of a struggle it is to make the pass on the high side, and you go to the bottom, what's the deal you might push up with like a little bit of more tires.
And coming to 12 to go, when do you make that move? Because again, we have to address the elephant in the room. There is the possibility the race could end under caution.
You said it this time, not me. I'm the one who always says it, and I always jinx it. It's not my fault.
Well, we got lap cars too, so, you know, add the extra lap of pacing there as well. So I haven't been keeping track of just how many laps these drivers made under the 3 cautions we've had here tonight. So I believe in all 3 of those cautions, we didn't have any lap machines at that point in time. So I don't know exactly off the top of my head what the point of no return would be for these drivers. If I had to speculate, as Schilling for the moment there off of turn 2, but if I had to speculate, I think maybe like completion of lap 112, 113, something like that. There's more traffic up ahead for the leader to have to deal with, I just noticed.
There's currently 7 cars off the pace, 1 lap down at the moment. So the next one that would be going a lap down would be Doug Cady, who's on the lead lap.
The next car they would catch, though, would be the
Larry
028, Larry Ingram, who is
right
now
he's currently going through the last car on the touring.
Right. I don't know. I mean, would that be a detriment to the 8 car, getting a little bit aero tight, running in the draft of the 028? Is that an opportunity for Metallic to capitalize?
It's going to be too much of an issue for Jeremy, but I do think that when they catch Larry, that Josh and Jovan might get an idea of when to set themselves up for the move on Jeremy, though.
A don't know if he's just hanging back, but right now,
I do want to point out something. I do want to point out something off topic real quick. Kind of on topic, kind of off topic. I want you to think about this. I offered Jobin the spot. He's like, he's thinking about it. Now imagine if he wins. He's thinking about it.
I think that him asking the Magic 8 Ball would have given him the correct answer.
Is that what he did?
I don't know. Maybe. Apparently, I've got some crystal ball when I'm in the dark horse races or something. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway,
I can't wait to interview him if he gets in top 3 and find out what he thinks about all this. I mean, he's going to make a move right now.
Position better here. Yeah, it was third. Now going to go to the inside of Metallic for second. And you know what's happening with Jeremy Jeffries? That's just making the smile on his face wider and wider, because that's allowing him to open up a bit of a gap on second place. At the same time, these two guys are using up more of their tires, battling side by side with each other.
Wait. They're going to catch Glenn Harris and possibly Doug Cady and Cy Jones.
More traffic for Jeremy Jeffries to have to deal with here, as he'll hit the start-finish line, and we will be at 7 laps to go here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway.
Seth, when do you kick it into high gear? Or do you think you're already kicking it in high gear, realizing that?
I think at this point in time, you might have to kick it into high gear, because, as stated, you don't know if this race might end under yellow. This could be the last lap, and you don't realize it. Jobin Anderson looks like he's trying to put the pressure on Jeremy Jeffries. And we saw a lot of blocking here in the beginning stages of this race. I guarantee you, Anderson gets to the back bumper of the 8, he's going to be throwing some blocks.
And you do realize when you start moving back and forth and throwing all around here, trying to block, you get loose real quick. And we saw these guys on that bottom get loose. We saw you go way up too high. What happens? You get pushed up into that wall coming off the corner. So you really got to time that move correctly. So I'm wondering if we can see them time that move. Maybe what's going to happen is Joe's going to get beside Jeremy and get really aggressive, and that's going to open up the door for Josh.
5 laps to go. You can't see the scheme of the 193, but it's the battle of the motor oils right now. Valvoline on the 8, Amoco on the 193 down the back straightaway. And it looks like right now it's going to be a mano-a-mano battle. They've opened up 4 car lengths back to Josh Metallic.
Here he goes.
Can he get the run off the corner here? Jeffries going to try and pin him down, not let him get back to the throttle. They're going to drag race it down here to the start-finish line, but Anderson will have that inside advantage going into 1. And look at the traffic ahead.
You do realize this put a smile on Josh's face, I'm sure.
He may have a shot of getting back up here again. Bobby Farrell getting out of the way of this side-by-side battle up ahead, as well as the 7 of Cy Jones. We'll see if he yields to the top side in 3 and 4. Not this time. Still dead even between Anderson and Jeffries.
I honestly think what's on their mind right now is caution. You know, that's what they're probably thinking about. Let's go now, so if a caution comes out, I got the spot. I think that's what was on Jobin's mind.
He is clear of Jeremy Jeffries for the race lead, so
Jeremy,
now can Jeremy get him back with 2.5 to go?
Jeremy's right there. He goes right back up. He went right to the bottom, got right back in the line, moving up a little bit higher up than Jobin, just so we can get that little arc out. And behind Grant, right there, right behind Josh, is Grant Wesley. Grant's letting himself be known right behind Josh.
Grant trying to pick up the 3rd spot here in the closing stages. Jeffries shows the nose on Jobin Anderson going into 1. They're still having to deal with the traffic up ahead. Cy Jones in the 7, Doug Cady in the 007 up ahead there as well. Down the back straightaway, 1.5 to go at this 1.5-mile speedway. Anderson and Jeffries. Jeffries with the inside advantage this time.
Oh boy, look at Anderson. Anderson's driving it. Man, oh
really
man.
Wide there.
Josh got the wall. Josh got the wall. Here comes Grant Wesley, the last lap, Seth.
White flag in the air. Jeffries in control. Lot of traffic up ahead. Anderson's got to get a good run here out of 2 if he's going to have a shot in 3 and 4. He might be there, I think, when they get to this corner, but will he have a lane as Jeffries to the inside of Terrace? Final time out of 4. Anderson looking top. Jeremy Jeffries the outside of the 7 of Cy Jones. Going to cut him off, and Jeremy Jeffries is going to win here tonight in the Lone Star State.
What an exciting end to that one.
What a battle! What a great clean battle between those two guys.
All I
Back
want to
and
say
forth.
is, like we've said, we've got some really professional drivers that can go out and race hard and enjoy themselves and race clean, and have put on a great show for everyone. At the same time, Seth, this is not a plate track. This is not the All Stars. This is not for the championship. This is not a big exhibition payout prize event either. This is just one of the normal races. This is Texas, an intermediate track, Seth, and we see a finish like that, like we would at Atlanta. That's great.
Josh Metallic getting a little assist on the pit lane by Brian Schilling. Wesley able to snag that third spot there at the end, so that should keep him the points lead going into the Charlotte Roval next week. Jeremy Jeffrey certainly going to continue to climb in the points as he's burning it down on the front straightaway. And what a debut here this season for Jovan Anderson, bringing it home in the runner-up position. We'll be talking with all three of those drivers in our post-race wind down in just a few moments. I mean, here tonight, you talked about it. Intermediate track, you had to conserve tires for the long run. It was all about throttle control and the ability to make passes and complete passes. And it looks like Jeremy Jeffries, I think Ron Hagelin might be in the wrong pit stop.
So currently the unofficial, quote unquote official, but unofficial standings are such as this. Jeremy Jeffries will pick up the win. Jovan Anderson rounds out second with a great battle. I mean, that was a great battle. Grant Wesley makes the move over Josh Metallic toward the end of that race after Josh hit the wall, unfortunately, but Josh still finishes fourth. Brian Schilling ends up fifth. Jeff Supta, he rallied back from the back set to come back with a sixth place finish, even though he's 11 seconds back, almost 12 seconds. I'd say that's a win-win situation in his place. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely showed he had a fast race car there. We were kind of worried about him when we saw him outside of the top 15, but apparently that speed came back, and yeah, good comeback run for him.
And following him will be Dave Nelson in the 038 and 7th. 8th is Andrew Miller. 9th, Andre Marchand. And rounding out the top 10 is Jim Gloud. Greg Palmer will finish 11th. Chuck McClure, 12th, with a known back end, but still a good finish. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that, I don't think. Ron Luzier, 13th. 14th, Bob LaChance. 15th, we'll find Ron Hagelin, who started right in third. He's had a rough day indeed. And Doug Cady will round up the drivers on the lead lap in 16th.
Yeah, 16 drivers finishing on the lead lap. We had 23 drivers running at the conclusion. You see the drivers that went behind the wall, most of them due to crash damage sustained in the three cautions we had here tonight. Sullins, Robbins, Martin, Godfrey, and Crivello. Certainly looks like we're still early on in the season. Now the fourth race under these drivers' belts. So we're going to see, I think, a lot of moving and shaking as far as the point standings is concerned. Wesley, with the third place run tonight, should maintain the points lead, but going to be a different order of drivers, I think, behind him when they head into the Charlotte Roval next week.
Don't they do the you win, you advance to the playoffs thing on this one too?
I believe they do. I believe it is a win and you're in system. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of how the playoffs are put together. I will definitely be doing some more research on that and have that information when we're back in 2 weeks' time at Homestead, as we're going to be closer to the playoffs at that point in time.
I'm just sitting here waiting, and I'm looking at the pace car. The lights are on the pace car.
Yeah, I think that not everybody had yet crossed the start-finish line, and
no, I mean the pace car is still sitting there at the end of pit road, not even moving. But
yeah,
look at the lights.
yeah, there was somebody spun when everybody hadn't crossed the line, so it's saying that we ended up finishing this race under caution when we didn't.
All right, well, enough chatter from us. Why don't we get ready to interview Grant Wesley? What do you think, Seth?
Absolutely. Let's get the guy that brings it home P3 and will more than likely be keeping the points lead heading into next week. Grant Wesley. Grant's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, crazy race here tonight. We knew going in that the tires were going to be the most important factor into the outcome of this race. We saw the green flag pit stop strategy there at the end of the race as well. I mean, what was the main thing you were focused on here tonight in order to keep that car's speed up for the long run?
Well, early on, it helped getting that second place qualifying effort. I was thrilled by that. Didn't expect that at all. So I started up front, and sort of the game plan was to keep track position and try to save tire. I knew tire wear was going to be a big deal, like you said. A lot of the guys up front were running pretty hard early, and frankly, I was just having a lot of fun racing with them, and I burnt my stuff up way too early in the first run. Luckily, there was a caution that came out right as I think Jeremy and Joven caught us there tail end of that run. So I knew at that point, I needed to start saving some tires, and so then the rest of the night I took a different approach to it. Started changing my line. I felt like maybe I was able to save more tire in that second lane, but there wasn't as much grip, it wasn't as fast. So I was having a hard time maintaining that track position and running that spot on the track. So, just kind of put the best effort forward to save tire there at the end, and it just wasn't quite enough. Congratulations to Jeremy Jeffries on the win.
All right, Grant, I got something on my mind here. I got a couple of questions, but also I'm just realizing that I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or not, but Valvoline, Amoco, and Quaker State, like, is there something going on that we don't know about?
Oh God, that's funny. Yeah, I just realized that.
But anyway, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, like, I believe Seth, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Grant said that he lost a little bit of track position. I don't think we ever saw him technically lower than fifth. Honestly, I never saw him outside the top five, and I'm just curious, Grant, with them using up their stuff and making passes, going side by side. I mean, how hard and how difficult was it for you just to stay in the top five, let alone ride as long as you did without making a move?
I mean, fifth place was kind of my happy spot there. I was able to fall back to fifth, and the guys were letting me in line and let me ride there, so it wasn't too difficult.
Oh, well, at least you got some friends out there that'll be willing to do that for you. I mean, I know these races, aren't like the plate track races, so they're a little bit more difficult to win, especially early in the season. But you already got 2 wins, so I'm guessing you're pretty much set the way you are already. Another point I wanted to make: what went through your mind when Josh hit the wall coming up that corner?
Oh my God, I closed my eyes and just turned left. I was hoping I'd clear him. But yeah, I noticed I was behind Schilling earlier in the race. Whenever he done that, he just got a little tight and kind of hit the wall, and I turned under him. And then I seen Josh doing the same thing. And it, kind of from experience, I kind of know what that feeling's like coming off of turn four. If you just pick the throttle up a little too soon, it's like the car just never stops getting tight. And I kind of knew where he was headed.
So, Jess brought up a good point in the fact that 2 wins here in the early portion of the season. You're pretty well set, pretty well locked into the upcoming playoffs. Next week, we go to the Charlotte Roval. We know that there's a road course in the middle of the playoffs at Watkins Glen. So, do you maybe approach the Charlotte Roval as maybe preparation for that playoff road course race?
Yeah, road courses aren't exactly my strong suit. I mean, I can hold my own. I think realistically, I'm kind of hoping for a top five when I go to a road course. Um, so yeah, actually, the Roval is one of my better road courses. So hopefully, I get a decent finisher.
Jess already threw out the invitation during the broadcast. I might be running the Charlotte Roval with you guys, and apparently it's a goal now for someone to maybe spin me out. So maybe you can do that. Maybe that'd be something you can do next week.
Yeah, it's good to have goals.
Well, great. A great run for you here tonight. Going to keep that points lead heading into the Roval next week. Solid third place performance here tonight. As Just said, never fell outside of the top five, up there at the front all night long. Before we let you go, we'll turn the mic over to let you thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank our owners here at RTG, David Cannon and Chom Prime. It's a great place to race, great group of people. I'd like to thank you guys, FRN, for doing the broadcast. Seth and Jess, thanks for doing the commentary there. I'd like to thank the admins here tonight, Jeremy and Sean, and everyone that helps him. I'd like to thank my teammates at XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Grant Wesley, P3 here tonight under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. Congratulations once again on the great performance.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can now dial up Jovan Anderson, his first start on the season, and almost picked up a checkered flag in the same night. Jovan, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hello.
It's rigged. I don't like you anymore. You were supposed to broadcast. Why did you do this?
I wanted to race.
Well, proving that the oldest is the best Texas, I bet that with the current Texas we have on the NASCAR schedule, we wouldn't have had this exciting a finish. It was a blast to watch you and Jeremy Jeffries cross each other over there for those final 5 laps or so. I mean, just how nerve-wracking and exciting was it for you as a driver in the middle of that battle?
Oh, it was very nerve-wracking. It was awesome though. Jeremy is one awesome of a driver, and I thought I'd saved enough tires to get by him. I did. I saw the lap cars creeping up ahead, and they kind of gave me some dirty air, and I just overdrove the turn and allowed him to cross back over. So it just made it that much more intense and fun to go side by side with him and all the way to the finish there.
So, Joe, and I have to ask, you started way back in the 27th position, technically. How was it more fun? Was it more patient? Did you have any issues? Like, you were way back there coming through the field, all the little couple wrecks that happened, then you had to do conserving tires, pushing it just to gain track position. Like, what was your thought process coming from way in the back all the way to the front the way you did?
Just a lot of patience and timing my passes at the right places at the right times. Waiting to see if cars in front of me would make mistakes or not, or other things would happen. So we just tried our best to capitalize on those situations and just slowly move our way forward there.
When was the moment you decided that you were going to push it even harder? Like, I mean, I know you're talking about waiting and being patient, but at the same time, when did you decide, well, I'm through being patient, I have to push because I guess, like, how many laps ago was it when you decided I have to go now to get where I need to be toward the end of this race?
About 10 to go. That's honestly where I was thinking in the back of my head, okay, it's time to go and see if we can get them.
Was your tires completely worn at that point, though?
They were pretty worn, but it's one of those where you get down to the end of the race and your tires are at where your tires are at, because everybody else is going to be pushing as hard as they can too. So you just hope that when you get to that point that you have managed your tires better than everybody else at that point,
Well,
and
well,
just go for it.
do you want to push and get the track position before they do, or do you want them to push first so you capitalize off their mistakes? But the question is, if that happens, wouldn't they be too far out for you to catch them?
It really just all depends on the circumstances, because you never know when other drivers are gonna make passes on others and go side by side, and when everyone's gonna get single filed back out and just run. So it's really circumstantial, and it just all depends on the situation.
Quite a
And we
bit of
saw how,
strategy, patience, huh?
yeah, I
It's a
mean,
tough mix.
we ended up seeing, obviously, a lot of drivers really struggling with the handle of their race cars at the end of the run. And we fully expected that, knowing that that right front tire heat was going to build up and you were going to start to really have trouble with corner exit. But we ended up seeing a couple of drivers have some issues with getting really loose at the beginning of runs. I mean, just how much were you drivers having the flip flop from loose to tight during the course of a run with the cool tires as opposed to when they started heating up?
Well, for me, it was just being very mindful, and if I did restart on the top, it was definitely looser on the top, especially on fresh tires, than it was on the bottom. So I just tried to get to the bottom as quickly as possible, because it held its own pretty well on the bottom. There was one spot in the middle of 1 and 2 where the nose would want to rotate a little bit harder, so you kind of had to correct the wheel back a little. But it was pretty manageable. So once those tires got warmed up, it was just save, save, save until you felt you were ready to go.
Well, Joven, your debut race here this season, almost picking up that checkered flag right there at the end. Come up just a little bit short, but a heck of a performance here tonight, bringing it home in the runner-up position. Congratulations. And before we let you go, we're going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
I just want to say thank you to you guys for doing this broadcast here, and I just want to say thank you to Rolling Thunder Gaming for their hospitality and giving me the opportunity to come in here and race. Haven't been in here for a while, so I appreciate them allowing me to come in tonight and run with them. They're a great league, great group of guys to run with every week, and I had a blast tonight. So I want to say thank you to them for everything that they did, and you guys, and shout out to my home league, Bomb Squad Racing, and Voils Truck, and Brian Cathy Voils, all the guys back home. Hope you guys are watching and you enjoyed the show, and I think we put on a great show. So thank you guys.
Joven Anderson, second place here tonight, the Texas Motor Speedway. A solid performance in his first start of the season. Congratulations once again, Joven.
Thank you.
And let's see if we can now go down to victory lane and talk with the driver that was the winner of that battle in the closing stages of this race. His first win on the season, Jeremy Jeffries. Jeremy, Jess, and Seth up here in their Ferrin booth. You got us?
I got you.
I'll tell you what, we saw a lot of drivers here tonight that would work their way to the front, then start to fall back, then work their way back up to the front again. Looked like it was a lot of mind games and tire management here this evening, but there seemed to be a certain point in this race, just about before you drivers came down for that final round of green flag pit stops, where you seemed to turn up the wick and felt like that was the time to move to the front. I mean, explain the process of what motivated you at that point in time to kind of step on the gas a little bit sooner than others.
Oh, well, I first off, about I think like 54 or so, I sped on pit road and had to go to the complete tail of the field. So I was working my way through, was learning a lot about tire management, just what lines would work and where I could go. And I started really liking that top lane to make some passes. And then I made it back up to, I think I restarted 13th on the final restart. And again, I was just going to sit there and try to bide my time or whatever. And we just made our way up slowly. And I still had some great tires, because being that far behind everybody, you just couldn't drive it in there deep. So when I got back up to, like 5th or 6th, and right before the green flag stops, I was like, shoot, let's see how much tire I got left.
Jeremy, we saw you go from, like you were saying, from the mid-pack up to the front. We saw you get the lead, run away with it for a few laps, and Joven comes back, catches you, passes you. You do a crossover on the bottom to pass him back. While you were up on that high side, like, were you struggling? Were you thinking like, okay, I'm going to run side by side up here on the high side against him and try to hold on to this lead? Or was your mentality like, I need to let him go, I got to go underneath him? Was that like the only way to pass at all with worn tires?
Well, you could pass on the top side with worn tires, but the other person had to have worse tires. And he definitely did not have worse tires. He was back there saving. I knew he was back there saving. It was just a matter of time before he came up there. But when he got under me, I was just racing him hard, hoping maybe he pushed and had to get out of it and I could clear him again on the top side. But yeah, I definitely did not want to race him on the top too long, because there's a chance you're knocking down the wall.
I was like baffled. I saw you go on that bottom, and I was just wondering, at that point, were you worried that your car would slide up based on the wear of your tires, and knowing that Joven was going to try to hold his own up there?
Oh, definitely.
You also had lap cars in front of you. How bad did they hinder your progress toward the end of that race?
The lap cars probably won me that race, to tell you the truth, because he had the better tires. He cleared me, got into turn 3, got behind that dirty air from the lap cars, pushed up, and I was able to get back under him. And then there at the end, I had the 7, I think, in front of me, and the final turn, and we were both just pushing from that dirty air. So it pushed me to the outside, and he had to go even further outside, which kind of didn't allow him to get the run he needed.
Yeah, and I brought this up to Grant a little earlier. Did you Did you three notice that it was all motor oils? Top three?
I did not.
I know, ironic. By the way, congratulations on the win, and this is really going to help you in points, definitely.
Thanks. Yeah, Grant was starting to pull away there a little, so I need to make up a little bit on him.
Yeah, I just want to ask you one final question here, Jeremy. In regards to that battle in the closing stage. Now, we know that there's two ways to make it into the playoffs. You can either be in the top 8 in the point standings, which you're in that top 8 right now, or you can win your way in and be in the top 16 in the point standings. But we know that with the race wins during the regular season, it gives you added bonus points. So you've got Jovan Anderson, who's making his first start here tonight, who's got an opportunity to take a checkered flag away from you and those valuable playoff points. I mean, as a driver, how does that determine how hard you were going to race him for this checkered flag?
I can be completely honest and say I was not thinking about points at all. I was just going for the win.
You drivers never seem to be thinking about points. I don't know. I don't know.
The
We were
last
just having a
race,
great
that's
battle
when they
there.
care about it.
Yeah, right. It seems like when it's the cutoff race or something. I don't know. But I mean, hey, you got to get that checkered flag. You got to get that position that's ahead of you. That's the racer's mentality. And a lot of times people wonder what goes through the mind of a sim racer. We get a firsthand taste with these post-race interviews. But Jeremy, I'll tell you what, heck of a drive here tonight. Started this race from the 5th position. You bring it home with your first checkered flag of the season. You lock yourself now into the playoffs with about roughly 11, or no, well, actually, it'd be about 6 races left here during the regular season. So congratulations on that. Going to be a lot of fun to see what you do here down the second half of the regular season in preparation for the playoffs. But before we let you go and continue your celebration, we're going to turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
Oh, thank you to RTG owners and admins. Just had a blast tonight. It was such a good race, good track, good setup. Thanks to FRN for the broadcast. I always look forward to watching them back every time. Thanks to Jovan for racing me hard, racing me fair, and racing me clean. That was just so much fun. And didn't have Jägermeister on the car tonight, so that's a change for me up here in these interviews. But enjoyed the Valvoline monster machine that Rodney Solon's painted up for me. So thanks to him.
Jeremy Jeffries, your winner here tonight in the Lone Star State, picks up his first win of season 57 here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway. Congratulations, Jeremy, and a job well done. Go and enjoy this victory, and best of luck here for the remainder of the regular season.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
As Jeremy continues his celebration of his victory here tonight, a third different driver to go to victory lane this season, joining Grant Wesley and Sean Prime. Obviously going to move up in the overall point standings as well, but solidifies himself a spot in the playoffs here, Jess. Now drivers look towards the Charlotte Roval next week, and the only road course, I believe, that is on the schedule during the regular season. So can pretty much guarantee a lot of your road course specialists had that date circled on the calendar.
And I can guarantee I won't be there. But I'm sorry, I just don't like road courses too much. But I mean, there's only 2 road courses, one being in the playoffs, right? Like we said, that Watkins Glen is more known to a lot of these drivers. They've recently brought out the Roval. Not been out that long, but it's been out for a little bit. Most leagues really don't look at that Roval issue. So, I mean, with it showing up on the schedule stuff, it's going through a lot of people who are a little bit of a curve. Some of the guys who have raced it long enough may actually be really competitive. I expect to see probably, I'm thinking more like, I'm not sure if Robert Balcom or Matt Watkins runs in this series, but if they do, I would expect them to be up there. I would expect to see some of these, not trying to like say road course ringers. I don't really know, but I would expect people like Frank Pavard, maybe possibility of maybe Dave Nelson, or even Bob LaChance or Andre Marjan, even, because he's got a few wins under his belt too, to show up and actually be up near the front toward the end of this as well with the Roval.
Andrew Miller, also a very well-versed road course racer, had a top 10 run here tonight. As a matter of fact, speaking of drivers up at the top of the point standings, as mentioned, I did look to see about what the criteria is to make it into the playoffs. A win in the top 16 in points gets you in, or being in the overall top 8 in the point standings. Well, looking at the top 8 in the point standings, There is some moving of positions, but pretty much everybody that was in the top 8 coming into tonight is in the top 8 leaving. The only difference, Sean Prime, who was not in the field here tonight, drops out, and Josh Metallic moves his way in. So next week, do we see that exchange of positions again with the fact that there are drivers that are going to be going into that road course expecting to be competitive, and there are others that are going to be going into that road course just happy they finished?
I expect a lot more shuffling to be taking place based on that road course because we heard Grant, right? Grant said he's not a road course driver, correct?
Right.
I mean, he doesn't got anything really to worry about, but other drivers that don't have the win because we've only had 4 races up, and technically Grant's won 2 of them. Sean Prime wasn't here, so technically that's 2 winners. Now we got Jeremy, that's 3 winners. That's basically 3 people locked up technically at this moment. There's a lot of people in close proximity of each other, and with it being a road course, and like I said, you got Andre Marjan, you're talking about Andrew Miller. Random, I honestly feel we're going to have a new winner next week, and we're going to see someone make their statement out of nowhere and actually show up to actually be competitive and race, not just for the, oh, well, it's just fun. I'm just going to race for fun because it's fun. I honestly think whoever wins the road course next week is actually someone we should feel really threatened by later on in the season. Actually might go up for the championship.
Especially with the fact there is going to be a road course right in the middle of the playoffs. And,
Exactly.
if we end up having a new winner next week, we'll be able to document that the following week because we're going to be back here for the Barebones Racing Series, bringing you coverage in 2 weeks' time at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So hope that you all will join us for that one. Some more 1.5 mile racing here for RTG.
And just to point out here, Seth, you were talking about the Walkman's Bone being in the middle of playoffs, right?
Right.
Think about this. Realistic damage, too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Man. Armco barriers, tire barriers. Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
And then up and down the bumps, the quote-unquote turtle. I don't know what version they are going to have, if that's actually going to affect the undercarriage of the vehicle because it's realistic damage. So there's going to be a lot of thought process, and then black flags for cutting if they've got that on. Who knows?
I love how you've brought up the fact here near the end about the realistic damage when I'm planning on possibly running the Roval next week. Those turtles are going to murder me.
You're very much welcome for this. But anyway,
gosh.
What do we got? We said you said that we got another race in a couple weeks that we're broadcasting. I don't know if it's going to be Michael or myself, but I mean, one way or the other, it will be broadcasted live on FRN.
Yeah, and it's going to be good racing there too. Homestead always seems to bring about multi-groove racing, so looking forward to that one. Hope you guys will join us. That is going to be October the 10th. When we will be bringing you that coverage. Green flag will be scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But a thriller here tonight. Really exciting battle in the closing stages between Jovan Anderson and Jeremy Jeffries. Jeffries able to hang on for his first win on the season. Congratulations once again to him. Great race overall here tonight under the lights at Texas. And Jess, appreciate you joining me up in the booth for this one this evening.
Well, it was a last-minute decision. Thanks for messaging me and making me be like spot on. But I enjoyed doing that. It was an exciting race, really exciting twist and turn strategy, and especially the ending of this race. And I enjoyed being part of it. And real quick, we got a storm coming in Florida. We all know about that. I just hope everyone's going to be safe and down in Florida, and hopefully everyone's okay with the possible flooding that might happen.
Yes, absolutely. Going to be thinking about everybody during the next couple of days when that hurricane is expected to hit. So, yep, definitely everybody stay safe down around that area. But thank you once again, everyone that tuned in to our coverage here tonight for the RTG Barebones Racing Series. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks' time for this series at the Homestead Miami Speedway. But for Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in tonight to our broadcast, courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's